You may remember there was a Splatoon 3 dev interview with Famitsu. I did cover it on the channel, but it turns out it wasn't a full interview because yesterday Famitsu on their website published the whole interview, which was 5 pages long, 20,000 words in total, I do believe. And yeah, I've gone through it, picked out the most interesting bits. It does include stuff which I haven't talked about yet on the channel. I do believe Razikaz is working on a full proper translation. I have just used Microsoft Bing. You sort of do get the gist anyway. I will post a link to whenever Razikaz does post more translations. I'm not sure whether we'll have time to cover that when that does go live. But yeah, I just want to talk about what the Famitsu interview did say. So they did talk about Shifty stations. Famitsu did ask about the possibility of their revival in Splatoon 3, and this is what the devs had to say. The area where Shifty stations are located is a mysterious space arranged by Marina through a mysterious connection, so there may be a way to get there if it is figured out. However, Marina is also busy with artist activities, so it seems difficult. Also, the Shifty station stages are a mystery, so it's a mystery whether the same place remains. Now, in the article itself, it just features the final Splatfest Shifty station stage, so they might just be referring to that one single stage. But based on the answer, it doesn't sound likely they will return, but they're not ruling it out. I'm just not expecting them to be in Splatoon 3. I feel like they will just focus on Tricolor. Stage renovations did get brought up by Famitsu. Their question was, in previous games when the stages were being renovated, they were sometimes out of rotation and announced that it was under construction. The devs responded by saying renovations weren't decided in advance for the previous games, but were done according to the way the players played and the situation at the time. So we plan to make adjustments according to the situation in the same way this time. Could that mean that we will be getting renovations, or maybe they might think just sticking a pole in the stage is enough and that is their sort of version of, you know, fixing the stages, or like what they did with Undertow Spillway. Maybe we will just be seeing that sort of thing, or maybe they are hinting that we will be getting stage renovations for Splatoon 3. Definitely feel like they need it. Hopefully that is the case. Finally, for this video, I'm just going to talk about the ratio of old to new stages. Famitsu did bring that up. The devs responded by saying the most important point is where is the hottest place in the squid world. 3 is set in Splatsville, so it is easy for places near Splatsville to become a hot stage. Therefore, squids and octolings have moved to the Splatlands region, and the spots around Splatsville have appeared as stages. So again, not really committing there, but it does sound like maybe we will get more new stages than revival stages. They mentioned communication errors as well, and that they are fixing them one by one and improving them. They talked about seasons and how they affect the amount of players that do play the game, and yeah, pretty much what they said is that number of players will increase at the start of a new season, but other times the number of players playing has been stable. They haven't seen a significant decrease in the amount of players like in the middle of a season. At festivals and big runs, the number of players increases all at once, and then the trend does continue for a while. It seems that many players play in the wake of festivals and big runs, so whenever Splatfest does drop, people hang around for like a week or 2 weeks after that. It does bring people back to the game. They also gave an interesting stat about the amount of players that did play like the most sort of popular event in Splatoon 2. So the most amount of people that did play a day, like amount of like concurrent players a day for Splatoon 2 was during the first anniversary Splatfest, which, if my memory does serve correctly, was the Squids versus Octopus one in August 2018, if my memory does serve me correctly. So that did see the most amount of players per day. Apparently, not the last Zelda Splatfest, because the interview did take place before it did drop, but the Splatfest before then, that did drop around about Easter, the chocolate one, apparently that did have a larger number of people playing per day. Probably if you compare the sales for the two games at that point, then probably Splatoon 3 did sell more than what Splatoon 2 did sell at August 2018. So it's not really too surprising, but it's just an interesting stat that Nintendo did give. They're normally quite secretive about that sort of thing, so yeah, I found it interesting how they did give that out during this interview. So they talked about the ratio of each mode, like how many people play each game mode, and yeah, it's pretty much the same across Turf War, Annika Battle Open, Series, Salmon Run, but only about 10% of players do play in X Battle. They talked about how it is a coincidence that the designs for Deep Cut, for Shiver and Fry, they resemble their voice actors. Apparently the designs were decided before the voice actors were casted. They also asked, is Big Man similar? And then they responded by saying that Big Man it's a mystery. So yeah, we still don't know who voices Big Man, probably just one of the dev team. Yeah, the interview was definitely really interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.